Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1709B, and today's date is November 6th, 2018, and the title of the episode is Nobody Noticed, the setup is perfect, the spotlight shines bright. Now, before we get started, I want to talk about being prepared. We all know the deep state, they like to play dirty. We know they push events. I remember when I was in New York City during the 2003 blackout, I wish I had a tool to charge my phone and use it so I can see inside the building. Well, the Patriot Survival Flashlight, it's solar powered, lantern light so you can read by your desk, a USB port to charge your phone anywhere. This phone has it all. Now, this flashlight is an all-in-one lifesaver. I wouldn't go anywhere without it. It's lightweight but very durable. And if you use the code X15, you will get 15% off your Patriot Survival Flashlight. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, I want to go back in time a little bit because we've been talking about how the deep state, how they've been trying to change the country, and not for the good. we already know that. They were trying to change the country and bring it down to the level of the rest of the world, because they weren't going to bring all the other countries up to the level of the United States. That wasn't their plan. And the first part of their plan was to bring in immigrants. And these are illegal immigrants where they were just going to have them jump over the border. You can call them refugees, whatever you want to call them. They were bringing these people up. They were paid to be brought up into this country and throughout Europe. They wanted every country to be blended together. This was step one or phase one. And once they accomplished that, that would mean that every country would lose their identity. That's what they wanted. You would not identify with, oh, this is Italy, this is France, because we would have all the same people. Everyone would be the same. Because remember, they were setting up for a one world government. They also wanted the TPP. This was going to set up a court system which was above every single government. They would make the decisions for the governments. The governments would not have the last word. So that means the United Nations basically would have control over all the countries. The other way they had to bring the United States down to the level of all the other countries, remember, their whole objective was to make everyone a worker, a slave to their system. That's all they wanted. Control. And if you can get rid of the identity of the country, blend all the countries together, take away the power of the government, we the people, put a court system above that the United Nations controlled, they would get there. The other thing they needed to do was bring down the education level and make sure they brought it down to a level where people only had the ability to work. And this was Common Core. And at the time, people thought, no, Common Core is good for the country. Remember, teachers, educators, they weren't really involved in creating Common Core. This was Bill Gates. This was individuals that were pushing a certain agenda. Well, it's been around 9 years since the Obama administration lured states into adopting Common Core sight unseen. Remember, they said, oh, we're coming up with Common Core. Sounded great. If you want it, you can get some money. Remember, he also lied about Obamacare where, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. So it was one big lie. Basically, after Common Core was rolled out officially and schools started to implement it, and it's been like 3 to 5 years now, we're starting to see the results of Common Core. And what we're seeing right now is that kids are less prepared. And now we're getting scores from like the ACT, the SATs, and the rest. And these scores, the math scores, the English scores, all these scores are dropping like there's no tomorrow. So what were they really doing here? They were bringing the entire country down to a certain level. Now, we still have Common Core. We need to remove this. Now, I did an interview with Dr. Duke Pesta back in 2015. And I want you to listen to what he said back then, because it's turning out to be so true today. Take a listen. Now, they keep telling us that this is a very rigorous, standard type of program. It's going to help us in the world of education. It's going to bring us our rankings back up. It's going to make America better, and our kids will be smarter. Is this really going to happen? Or
how could it possibly be true? Common Core is never, this kind of a system has never been tried before. It took 6 years. Common Core was conceived in 2008 and 2009. It was just this past spring of 2015, that kids got their first serious Common Core testing. How in the world could they have been telling you for 6 years that this was going to work, it was going to be wonderful, it was going to raise standards, when they hadn't even tested it yet? It was just tested the previous spring. The whole thing is a lie. It's never been benchmarked. There's no evidence it's going to work. As a matter of fact, we know from looking at the math standards that overall your kids are going to get a much lower math education than they had gotten previously. The idea that this is somehow geared to make our kids better, that's how they had to sell it, right? But the same way they sold Obamacare. You're going to get better health care cheaper. You spent your whole life in finance. Does that ever work? You're going to get something much better cheaper. When does that ever work? And yet that's how they sold Obamacare. That's exactly how they're selling Common Core too. Think about how wonderful it's going to be when every kid in every school every day is learning exactly the same thing. Let me ask you this. You know the answer to this. You're going to get 60 million American school kids to exactly the same place. Is that going to ultimately have to be a higher place or a lower place if you're going to get 60 million kids there? It's going to have to be lower, isn't it? Yeah. And that's the standard here. Whenever you nationalize and standardize, you are spreading it so thin, you're competing with the least common denominator. This is the social justice aspect of Common Core. It's not fair that some kids get better educations than others. It's not fair that moms and dads who have money can help their kids more than other kids. So what we're going to do is we're going to create an educational system where every kid turns out exactly the same. And if you're going to do that, every kid is going to be pulled down, not pushed up.
So as you can see, what they were trying to do is they were trying to indoctrinate the children. They were trying to bring their educational level down, and they were preparing the population for what? Enslavement to a new world order. Now, next on the list is we need to get rid of Common Core, and I believe that's coming up very, very soon. Now, we know today is election day. People should get out there and vote. But what's very interesting is that we had Facebook and Google, they were both hacked into, and a lot of information was stolen from both. Now, Q came on and said, coincidence right before the election? Now, what's very interesting about all of this is that Clear Sky Cybersecurity, they found a dark net dream market data pool containing detailed information on 62 million registered American voters from 17 states. Now, the voter details are all there. You can buy them with US dollars, bitcoins, and what you'll receive is full name, date of birth, gender, telephone number, current and past addresses, and other details such as political affiliation. So I'm thinking to myself, they were hacked, this was set up, and the information is sitting in a database now where individuals can come and purchase this information, use this information to go out and vote. And this is something that we should be looking at. This is something that needs to be investigated because, again, this is what we call voter fraud. And it's a coincidence that these two social media giants, they were hacked and all this information was leaked out there, and all of a sudden we see this database of 62 million registered American voters from 17 states sitting there, and people are selling them. Let's move on to what is happening with the illegals, with refugees, migrants, and we know there are many countries out there that did not sign the UN document, which it would allow refugees, migrants into their country. We know that Croatia, they didn't want to sign. Austria, they didn't want to sign. Czech, they didn't want to sign. And we see out in Italy, they're doing something very interesting. We see that Salvini has continued his assault on what he views as Italy's biggest problem. And he is expecting to drastically cut the daily allowance for migrants in Italy, claiming the country could save up to 400 million euros by 2019. We have to remember, Salvini, who came into power riding on a platform vowing to crack down on the number of inbound refugees, has managed to greatly reduce the number of migrants coming into Italy by closing Italian ports to migrant rescue ships, NGO vessels, and we know who pays for those, who have been accused in the past of cooperating with people smugglers. And we're starting to see countries are starting to step up to the plate, follow the U.S., and say, you know something, we're stopping this. And we're going to see a lot more countries do this. And we see that a lot of these countries don't want to go along with what Soros is trying to do, what the deep state is trying to do, what the UN is trying to do. And they're putting their hands up and saying, no, we're not allowing this right now. We see Saudi Arabia is out there, Saudi Aramco, and the kingdom's petrochemical giant Saudi Basic Industry Corporation. They're ready to invest in building a processing plant in Russia. They're also looking to do this in China. So we see that Saudi Arabia, they are branching off, looking at Russia and China. Why? Because the system is changing. The petrodollar will be no more. And what's very interesting is that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, they will be receiving the Russia-made S-400 air defense system in the near future. Now, the date of delivery has yet to be established, but it's very interesting. All these countries that are afraid of the deep state, the backlash from the deep state, they're purchasing weapon systems that will defend their country. Look at Turkey, look at Syria, look at Saudi Arabia, look at Egypt. They're all purchasing these type of weapons because they know what the deep state will do if you don't go along with their plan. Now, the deep state is losing power. And remember, a lot of these countries have been under the deep state rule for a very long time. They're not sure right now who's in control. We know who's in control, but a lot of these countries are saying, well, is Trump going to stay in control? Is he going to get rid of the deep state? Is the deep state going to come back into power? And a lot of these countries, they realize that the petrodollar system, it is coming to an end. No matter which way it happens, it will end. And they want to protect their country because they don't want to go along with what the deep state wants, what the central banks want. And they're making preparation to defend their countries. Now, we see out in Iran has now shut off oil tanker tracking system because the U.S. placed sanctions on Iran, and this is putting pressure on Iran to oust the deep state out of their country and make a new deal with Trump and his administration. Now, according to tankertrackers.com, there are currently 6 tankers with total capacity of 11 million barrels moored offshore as floating storage, which allows Iran to continue deliveries. But they cannot track the Iranian ships right now because they have turned off their tracking devices. Now, we've talked about this before where Clinton, Obama, they basically gave up the CIA assets in China and Iran. Now, in May of last year, it was suddenly revealed to the public for the first time that from 2010 to 2013, when Obama and Hillary were in office, China was able to learn the identity of every single CIA agent in their country. Over 30 undercover intelligence assets were arrested and imprisoned, and many of them were executed. On November 2nd, Yahoo News published an article by Dorfman and Jenna McLaughlin titled "The CIA's Communications Suffered a Catastrophic Compromise." It started in Iran. It dropped the bombshell that Iran had also been tipped off to the identities of most, if not all, of the CIA assets there. And this breach started earlier than China's. Now, we need to go back in time here. And why am I mentioning all this? We mentioned this before, but what's very important here is that it just didn't happen in China. It happened in Iran. And who was in office during this period of time? It was Obama and Clinton. So when we look at this, we can see that these individuals tipped off these countries. And how did they do this? Well, we need to go back to the servers. We know that Hillary Clinton was using these unsecure servers. They violated the security protocols of the State Department. And countries had access to her servers, which tipped off the countries, knowing where all the CIA assets are, and they were able to find them out. So why is this information right now so important that it wasn't just the Chinese, it was the Iranians breaching our intelligence networks back in 2009? Why is this so important? Because the mainstream media right now, they are using damage control. Remember, the Iran scandal is about to come out anyway. They know this. And they decided to release the information themselves by leaking it to a friendly news outlet that would present this startling new information in a way that allowed it to be downplayed and minimized. Think projection. They know it's coming. And we need to go and remember the late Andrew Breitbart, what he called the controlled explosion strategy. You know some highly damaging information will become public. It can't be stopped. So what do? You find a news outlet that will let you get ahead of the revelation by dropping the news yourself. Only you massage it and spin it so it's not quite that damaging. So the deep state, which is Obama, Clinton, and the rest, and many others that are behind the scenes, they know that this information is going to come out. They're trying to use damage control to make it seem like it's not really that big of a deal. And they're hoping that this works. But the problem with all of this is that there's going to be facts. There's going to be so much information that can be backed up that they're not going to be able to control this. And this is what they're most worried about. And once people start to hear about this, they're going to think treason. They're going to think, wow, you gave up America. And this is going to be their biggest problem. Remember, when the declas comes out and the indictments come out and more information comes out, facts come out, the truth comes out, it's like an avalanche. They can't stop it once the ball is rolling. Let's get into some of Q's posts right here. The first post is 2420, and it says, did they get the shot? I pointed directly at it 3 times. I turned and double pointed just to be clear. Did they pick up the boom, boom, boom? Something is happening. Yes, Mr. President. Anons are actively tracking. Message received. Good. That's good. Q. Now, what does that mean? Well, in post 2421, there's a video of Trump double pointing at the green Q, showing that he's acknowledging Q. And under this, it says the Trump double point, watch for QVIP, and another prior to memes locked on target, fire when ready, high priority targets today, tomorrow, where we go one, we go all. So in the video, you can see Trump pointing each time. Post 2422. There's a link to Twitter, and this is Kubicinch 400, and it says, do you air Q? Now, this is at the Cleveland rally. What did Trump do in this video? He makes a circle with the line for Q, which is called an air Q. And if you look at the video, you can watch him do this. Post 2423. An Anon put up, yep, air Q delivered. Under it, it says, trolling the fake news media is fun. Q. Post 2424. An Anon put up, y'all are just begging for disclosure at this point. Huge, obvious air Q. Are you kidding me? Let's do this, Q. Under it, it says, POTUS really made that one obvious, didn't he? It was the end that sealed it, Q, because he did a circle, and then he actually did the line for the Q, which sealed the deal that, yes, he just showed everyone that it was a Q. Post 2425. Vote, 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 vote. Will you answer the call? Your country needs you. Q. Post 2426. Put up a Twitter link, and this says, now that it's becoming undeniable that POTUS supports QAnon. I'm reposting my video poking fun at the ridiculous narrative that the president needs to be rescued from the harmful Q movement. Laugh and enjoy the show. It's only going to get better. And this is a video of a video game showing that Trump needs rescuing. Under this Twitter link, it says the left has no chance. Q. Post 2427. An Anon put up, there's rumors exploding all over Twitter that Skippy Podesta committed suicide, digging for real source on this. Well, Q answered and said, no, this is fake news. But both brothers do have pending sealed indictments. So Q just acknowledged that they both have sealed indictments for both brothers. Boom. Post 2428. put up a Twitter link. This is from Praying Medic. And it says, extremist meme artists have taken over Instagram. Who would have thunk? And under it says, memes now front and center. Attack on Q movement. Fear. Coincidence. Q. And the mainstream media, the deep state, they're continually going after Q because Q's an insider. Q knows what's going on, is working with the president. We know Q Plus is the president. So we know this is why they're attacking it. It's not a conspiracy theory. They're afraid. Post 2429. Within this post, there's post 2042. And it says special approval. Then there's a number, P7291730009391_Z. Setup EX1 in brackets. And basically what this is, it's FISA warrant issued, approved Manafort, Mueller to Manafort, FISA warrant issued, approved Papadopoulos, Mueller, Papadopoulos, FISA warrant issued, approved Page, Mueller to Page. What does this all mean? Well, and it goes on and on and on. Basically what this means is the following. Declas is coming, and Papadopoulos remains in the public light for safety. The spotlight is now shining on Papadopoulos. So what did Papadopoulos tweet out? Because Q gave us a link. The guys with illegal FISAs on them by the Obama administration, me, Page, Flynn, Manafort, have been silenced. A Freedom of Information request on my FISA should be very interesting reading in case declassification doesn't occur. Shocked, the @New York Times is asking for Page's FISA to remain sealed. Now, why is the New York Times out there saying that Page's FISA should remain sealed? Well, we know the mainstream media has the unredacted FISA, and they know what's in there. They want it to remain sealed because once it comes out, the mainstream media, the deep state, they're screwed. Post 2430. Q gives us a link to Mama Didn't Raise, and in this tweet it says, "Do you see us, Q? Reporting for duty." And under this it says, "Eyes on Patriots, history books, Q." Post 2431. Q put up a meme. "It's time to unite and fight for our freedom. Together we are strong. Apart we are weak. Patriots have no skin color. Q." And under this it says, "There was a time when our children stood at attention, put their hand on their heart, and in one united voice recited the Pledge of Allegiance. There was a time when strength and honor meant something. There was a time when standing for our flag meant something. There was a time when our history, heritage, was taught with pride and respect. There was a time when respect was given to those who served, bled, and died to protect and defend our God-given freedom. There was a time when we were grateful. There was a time when these United States of America, one nation under God, was united. There was a time when these United States of America, one nation under God, was united under one flag. There was a time when we, the people, decided our future. There was a time when we, the people, had a voice. There was a time when we, the people, were united and strong. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed for them to do the same. Or one day we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like in the United States where men were free. You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there's a price we will not pay. There is a point beyond which they must not advance. Now, the next quote is from Ronald Reagan. "We'll preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or will sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness." Ronald Reagan. It is time we, the people, reclaim what is rightfully ours. Will you answer the call? Your country needs you. Your vote matters. We stand together. Be on guard. Stand firm in the faith. Be courageous. Be strong. 1 Corinthians 16:13. 2432. And Anon put up, Q, may God bless us all today. Under it says, Amen, Patriot, we are grateful. Post 2433. And Anon put up a tweet from George Papadopoulos. The death threats and slander have begun. That can only mean one thing. Declassification of FISA abuse and the exposure of the attempt by Australia and the UK to sabotage Trump is near. Now under this, Q says we put the spotlight on him for this very reason. He has no choice now but to remain in the light. This is not a game, Q. And right now, this declass all revolves around Papadopoulos. They put Papadopoulos in the light. This is going to be the trigger. And the deep state, they're very worried about this. And we can see with the New York Times already, they want it all sealed. They don't want anything out there. Which means the deep state players, they're shaking right now. They're nervous. They're panicking. Post 2434. And Anon put up, once you take care of yours, please help Canada, Q. Q says, the world will follow. Think Merkel. Now, Merkel, she is not running again. And we can see that change is in the air. And all these leaders that were part of the deep state, the same type of mission that they were trying to push out there with the refugees, the illegal immigrants, and everything else, well, a lot of them are going to start to resign. And what Q is saying, Canada, that leader will be next. Then we'll see Macron. Then we'll see the rest. Post 2435. Vote and meme, vote and meme, vote and meme. We are counting on you, Q. Post 2436. Q wrote, the entire world is watching. Patriots from around the world are praying for America. We are all bound by a feeling deep inside, a feeling that cannot be publicly expressed for fear of ridicule, a feeling that challenges the mainstream narrative against that which we are told to accept and dare not question. Put simply, that people are being abused by those in power and time is running out. Remember the battles of Lexington and Concord. Give me liberty or give me death. Far too long we have been silent and allowed our bands of strength that we once formed to defend freedom and liberty to deteriorate. We became divided. We became weak. We elected traitors to govern us. We allowed evil to prey on us. Those who claimed to represent us gave us false hope, made false promises. The evil and corruption only grew. This is more than party politics. This is about restoring old glory. This is about saving our land and our people from those who wish us harm. This is about preserving our republic. This is about preserving our safety. This is about restoring our strength. This is about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is about protecting our children. This is about saving America. We are all God's children. We are fathers, mothers, daughters, sons, brothers, sisters. We do not look at race. We do not look at skin color. We are united in these states of America. We are and will always be patriots. We must rise again. We must unite again. We must fight again for God and country. Please answer the call and vote. God bless America. Where we go one, we go all. Let's move on to post 2437. Q put up a picture of Trump walking out when he was accepting the presidency, and it says, we are Q. And under it, it says, they want one thing and only one thing, power. They will lie, cheat, and promise you the world to obtain it. They do not love our country. They despise it. They want it destroyed. Show your love of country by voting today. Return power to the people. Return all glory to her former state. We honor those who fought and continue to fight to save and defend the great country. We will do our part. Will you do yours? Vote, vote, vote. Justice is coming. Post 2438, there's a picture of the sun. There's clouds around it, and if you look closely, you can see the Q around the sun. And under that, there's a Twitter link to Stacey Dash, and it says, bless, and it shows a picture of her child. And basically, the person who put up the sky with Q says, beautiful child. Post 2439 put up a Twitter link to the Justice Department. To report voting rights violation, alert election officials at polls. Contact the Civil Division at 1-800-253-3931. To report election crimes, alert election officials at polls. Contact the FBI, U.S. Attorney's Office, Justice Department. Post 2440, Q put up an American flag. Gave us a link to a video with music on it. And it says under this, be proud, patriots. Today, like in 2016, you are, in one united voice, rising up to defend the great nation. Today, like in 2016, you are in one united voice, protecting the freedoms in which so many have died to provide. Today, like in 2016, you are in one united voice, making America great again. We stand together. We stand united. We stand for our flag. We stand for good. We stand for what is right. We stand for compassion, freedom, peace, liberty, justice, equality, prosperity for all, religious freedom, human rights, life, each other, friendship, love. We stand for ... We stand for the United States of America. Are you proud to be an American? Today, America is reunited. Let's move on to post 2441. And this is a picture, and it looks like the Bible to me, and it has the American flag highlighting certain words, and it says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. And under this, there's a Twitter link to Real TT 2020. It looks like this individual put together a music video of the Trump Train 2020. Under this, it says, together we win, Q. Post 2442, Q says, history is being made. You are the saviors of mankind. Nothing will stop what is coming. Nothing. Q. Post 2443. There is a Twitter link here, and this is a link to Adrian, and it says, spending the day teaching the future generation the truth. I took photos of him at 1 year old and sister at 3 watching the inauguration because I knew how historical it would be. Under this, it says, we are united. The world is changing. Can you feel it? Q. Now, what's very interesting about having Papadopoulos in the spotlight right now, and which a lot of people might not have noticed, because everyone was thinking to themselves, where's the declas? Where's the declas? And remember, timing is everything. Think about what has happened here. And think about the declas for a second. And think about what the New York Times is doing right now and why they put Papadopoulos in the spotlight. Remember, this is one gigantic show with a lot of moving pieces. So all the investigations that Sessions, Rosenstein, and Horowitz and Huber have conducted, they've been kept secret. There have been no leaks, right? No leaks at all. None of it was politicized before the midterms. This was done on purpose, because if they pushed the declas out there before the elections, guess what? The mainstream media, the deep state, they would have been all over this. They didn't mention a word. This was set up perfectly. What does this mean? Get ready for it all to be unleashed after the elections. This was done on purpose. So this way, the mainstream media, the deep state, they couldn't say anything. They thought it was going to be released prior to. This is why we saw so much chaos. They were just using their ammunition. But guess what? It was perfectly set up. And nobody's realizing what really happened here. The pieces all fell into place. Their plan is moving forward. The deep state, they don't know what to do. That's why the New York Times is out there saying, yeah, this shouldn't be unsealed. This should stay sealed. So when you hear the mainstream media telling the government what should be sealed and unsealed, that should tell you something. Get ready, because if we look at Q's post, what does it say? Nothing will stop what is coming. Nothing. Q. The world is changing. Can you feel it? Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.